friends, I'm Jill Wyoskowski, a librarian at Caroline Kennedy Library. I'm into crafts that repurpose or upcycle items that end up cluttering our drawers or that we plan to drop into our donation totes or maybe into our recycling bins. In this episode of Handmade at Home, I'll show you how to repurpose an old t-shirt or maybe one you just aren't fond of by turning it into a no-sew fringe scarf. Yep, you heard me, no sewing involved. Let's get started. Step 1. Let's gather the supplies needed for this project. You'll only need 2 items. A t-shirt, preferably a size large or bigger, and a pair of scissors. The sharper the better. Optional, if you have a rotary cutter, feel free to use it, although it's definitely not necessary for this project. Step 2. Create your infinity. Coming up with a good name for this step was a bit challenging. We'll be making 2 very simple cuts which result in the creation of an infinity scarf. The first cut removes the neck and sleeves, and the best way to describe it is you'll be making a cut across the chest, armpit to armpit. Your cuts do not need to be perfect, as the t-shirt fabric is incredibly forgiving and will curl. The second cut is more straightforward. Cut the bottom seam off your shirt. Again, don't worry about your cut being perfectly straight. Step 3. Cutting strips. Another easy step. At the bottom of your shirt, cut strips, which in the next step will turn into fringe. Your cut should stop several inches short from the top of your scarf. I left about 4 inches at the top of mine. The strips I cut weren't super thin, and they were definitely not straight. Absolutely no worries, you won't be able to tell. And on to our next step. Step 4. Fringe time, my favorite step. Take your strips and gently pull them downward a few times. Be careful when pulling because it is possible to rip them off the shirt. The t-shirt fabric will curl and hide any crooked and uneven cuts. Here's a tip. I held the top of my shirt in one hand and used my other hand to stretch the strips. Because I used a large shirt, my scarf was large enough to double up, which in my opinion looks pretty snazzy. Thanks for dropping by and watching this episode of Handmade at Home. We would love to see pictures of your no-sew fringe scarf. Feel free to send us your pictures at dhreference@gmail.com or tag them on social media using hashtag DHCLibraries. I'm Jill Wyoskowski with Caroline Kennedy Library. Stay connected with us at dhcl.mishlibrary.org and on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now on Pinterest. Thanks for tuning in.